Chennai is no way inferior to other cities, as Chennai is home. So nothing better than home. So if you know anybody, if you get a chance to do anything in life, the team, particularly most of my team members say I'm not a risk taker, I'm a risk monger. Because I never had money, so I never didn't make too much of stuff.
So how has Chennai evolved in your time here?
No, when I was a child, when I used to come to meet my uncles and cousins here, so for me, it actually used to excite me. For a village boy, coming to Chennai is the ultimate. So once in a year, or sometimes a few times in a year, when we come, we see Chennai is something we aspire to see. That's the only city I've seen in my life, in my younger childhood. So from past almost 38 years, it has become a home. So coming back to Chennai feels like coming back home. So the feeling is from excitement to now home.
So like you said, from a small village in Kanyakumari, you studied in Tamil medium. And when you sit in those global boardrooms today, what do you still carry from the small village boy that you were back then?
The village boys, even today, they are gutsy.
True.
So you are willing to take risk.
Yeah.
So you have no fear of failure. So when that guts and no fear of failure, that gets you going. Because at the best, we'll go back to our village.
That's true. Nothing
And
to
then
lose.
I don't think it's anything bad to go back to village. So if you think you can go back to village and live in the verandas there, so I don't think you have any fear. So
Life is
generally
much
that
richer.
gives. So I think that the fearless habit which comes into a village boy remains forever.
Okay, thank you for that. Today, the roads are quite clear, but otherwise Chennai's traffic is notorious with metro and all. Have you been stuck in the traffic? Have a very profound thought?
Yeah, I do, because unfortunately I don't drive so much, so very rare, but otherwise my driver drives. But whenever I'm stuck in the traffic, I'm working on my phone. So that's what I think it gives you sometimes a lot of time to do your mails or talk on phone, or I think it gives you, of course, if you have a driver to drive, then you have a lot of time to a lot of work which you can complete during the traffic. So I don't really get frustrated with traffic, but I try to use the time.
So you missed medical seat by 1 month. It is totally disheartening for many, but you took it in the right spirit, and then you moved on to BITS Palani to do your pharma. How was this cultural change? Was it a shock? How did you come over it?
See, for me, the story was when I was young, I was bitten by a snake. So even to approach a hospital from Narulvalmuli to Nagarkoil, it almost by the time we reached to 2 to 3 hours, 3 hours before I reached and something was started, I had been there hospital for almost a month before I got discharged. So then that is the time I started realizing, I was in maybe 7th, 8th class at that time. So that time I decided why it takes so much time to get some basic care. So from that time, this idea of being a doctor or being in healthcare came to my mind, and I nurtured that thought process. So when I missed my MBBS seat by 1 mark, because that was the first year in which entrance exam was started. So as a village boy, we had a very good score in my +2, but not maybe 2 3 marks less in my entrance exam. Today, there's so much going on NEET. I'm one of the sufferer of this NEET exam those days in a different way. It was started way back in 1984. So that time it was really disheartening to me. So I wanted to somewhere connected to medicine. That is how in BITS I would have gone and taken any other engineering discipline, but I took pharmacy. Then I, of course, specialized in biomedical engineering. That's how my career came up.
But what was your first experience, or first what did you feel when you landed in BITS Palani? How was it?
Yeah, for us, I didn't even have a sweater. So first I had to buy a sweater for a person come from here, because when we saw the first winter there was absolutely mind-boggling, because it goes to zero. So first we need to deal with the climate, then you have to deal with the studies, because for a person who came from Tamil Nadu State Board to BITS Pilani, it was actually a huge gap in how we approach exams and how we approach tests those days in our Tamil Nadu State Board to go to Pilani, where the whole education was US based education system. So it took some time for me to get used to it, and you have to compete with students from Doon School, students from CBSE and other large big schools here. So it took a lot of time for us to get used to it.
Okay, thank you for that. And you have built most of your enterprises from Chennai. Why Chennai?
As Chennai is home, so nothing better than home. So if you know anybody, if you get a chance to do anything in life, obviously you have to do from home. Past 38 years I'm living here. So of course my birthplace is Arattai, but now that it has become my home, everything I except 2 years of my career where I spent in China, most of the other time I have always been spending in Chennai. So any enterprise we started ultimately starts from Chennai, and it's not only lucky and we feel at home and feel at ease, and that's what makes Chennai very special in my life particularly.
Better the eating at home, right?
Yeah.
It gives a
So
different
where will
flavor.
you get the idlis and dosas? Nowhere else. Wherever you go, so you have home food, home, and we are happy that we could build a large global enterprise based out of Chennai today. Chennai is no way inferior to other cities. So though so much is being talked about Chennai being conservative, but today I hear there are more retro bars in Chennai than anywhere else in the country, and so we have the best beach. More than anything else, the Chennai people are so much hospitable. So there are certain things I think we have to show the world what Chennai is all about. And you see our Chennai boys are going across the world, and CEOs of many large American companies. So Chennai education system is very good, probably one of the best in India. So much good things about Chennai, which makes Chennai a great place for anybody to start business and do business.
Like you said rightly, we have so many investors coming, and that's also one of the reason. Manpower, highly skilled manpower is also a reason for people preferring Chennai. I suppose.
Absolutely. So the education system in Chennai has been one of the best. And people here, the parents now, we as people, Tamil people, we put lot of focus on education. So today that's the reason people from Tamil Nadu has gone across the world, particularly in the Western world, including US, and making such a big impact because of the basic education which they got from Chennai. The school education and college educations in Chennai is mind-boggling.
But when we often celebrate entrepreneurs for their risk-taking abilities, there's a lot of anxiety, loneliness, uncertainty at various points. What were your toughest emotional years? How did you overcome them?
No, basically, my team, particularly most of my team members say I'm not a risk taker, I'm a risk monger because I have to do so much business at a time. So many people say, why do you do so many business? Because what excites me is to do something new. So on each business will go through its own ups and downs, and every failure, as long as you are learning, then you are progressing. So I think all of us say the best learning is through failure. So every failure you learn something, as long as you have learned and you are ensured that the same mistake you make again, you don't make again. Obviously you can progress, and that's what makes me. There has been a lot of stressful moments, but as I am part of many organizations. Every organization goes through their own life cycle, right from being a startup to a medium-sized company to a large company to a global company. Each one is in different part of their life cycle, and each one goes through. So I'm the only thing I am able to do is multitasking, to go into different boardrooms or different companies to really change my mind. So my ability to switch off from one and switch on to another is something I have learned and acquired over the years.
But does it also like help you a lot because they're at various stages, so you're able to see things from a higher perspective or a different perspective? So
of course, no, learning from one you always take to another, but each business is different. Not all the businesses, even healthcare per se, we may say it's healthcare, but in that each of that, whether running a medical device, single specialty, diagnostics, multi-speciality, all these are different businesses, has its own dynamics. So of course, certain things is one thing very common is how do you build teams which are aligned and cohesive. If your team, you are only as good as the team which you have. If you have a team which is connected, aligned, and forward thinking with similar belief, I'm sure we can progress and achieve whatever we want.
So after all this, maybe many would be interested to know what does money actually mean to you at this point of time?
I never had money, so I never didn't make too much of. So today also I don't know what money I have. So it's already money really doesn't excite me. What excites me is doing something which becomes successful, and every year try to do more than what you have done last year. That has been my goal. I don't have a very long term plan, but every year we have to do something better than last year. Has been the goal in which I was going. I don't think we put any monetary goals to anything what we do in our life.
And you cannot, because the field that you're in is about enriching others' lives, so it's a much more happiness, right?
Yes,
Money
I
doesn't
think
define those things.
if you go after the money, it doesn't come
Yes.
behind you. So if you don't behind, it will come behind you. So I don't think money is a central part of anything which you should do, particularly including in business.
So, what do you think is a life lesson that you learned, which is probably too late in life? You wish you had known about it earlier.
Maybe even in being in healthcare, obviously today, even in Gen Z and all of them, the health is the last thing we put focus on. Even in my 20s and 30s, that's how it is. Hardly we used to eat what we like, do whatever we like. So that's something I think with the kind of information, Zoom, which is happening, and also the social media, if the younger kids and younger generation learn about the importance of healthcare early in life, I think many of things we could have avoided. So you could have avoided diabetes if you became a lot more. Of course, today there are many ways to reverse and do, but even before nowadays, the healthcare, the whole healthcare is about prediction, prevention rather than cure. Cure comes last. So the entire healthcare system is evolving into focusing on prediction and prevention rather than cure. So maybe at 20s and 30s, if I had known as much I had known about longevity and all that which we are talking about today, I would have been more careful in what I have done.
So all these youngsters should take care of their health.
Yeah, because health is the only wealth which we have. Everything else goes away if you don't have health. So whether you are in 20s, 30s, 50s, 70s, we have to pay first attention to health. If it takes 1 hour for taking care of yourself, just doing a workout or something. Sometimes it's so difficult to do. We don't do it. And in the younger life, I don't think we find. We think we have no time. I hear anybody I talk to, even the younger generation, they say absolutely I have no time. But if you can't find 1 hour for yourself, or sometimes even 2 hours for yourself, then how are we going to build our life? So that is a life lesson which we learned much later in life.
So you said you were in China. I suppose you were looking at the medtech or industry then. What do you think that the healthcare industry needs to see that you caught on and went ahead with?
No, when I went to China, what I found, what we always find out from China is they actually plan something and they achieve much earlier. In our case, of course, we start over aspiring and probably we take much more longer to achieve. When Chinese said I will do in 5 years, they'll complete in 2 years or 3 years. Because that's how their planning is, they spend a lot of time on planning, then they get into execution. In the way we used to do anything in our life here or in our business here is we start executing without planning. So something I learned from Chinese, how much they take their days and months to just keep planning small things. So that's something which really excited me. Then on like medical devices, today is still 80% medical import dependent. Way back in early 90s, China understood this. So basically now we are even after 30 years, 35 years, we are just thinking about it. Whereas they think they actually started thinking ahead. That is the reason they have a much larger economy. But nothing is lost for us. I think it's time we probably have a smaller window to catch up with a country like China. With a lot of things changing in the country, the government's becoming very positive. I know every government, be it state or central, today is very positive. Today they understand entrepreneurs are no longer a taboo word. Being a businessman or an entrepreneur, they are required to build a country. Even China, being a communist country, understood it a long time back. India is today understanding we need private entrepreneurs and we need business people, whether it's young and old, to really join together and build the country. Government can only do that much, but the entrepreneurs, whether they are Gen Z entrepreneurs or older entrepreneurs, they all have to really take the responsibility of carrying the economy and becoming India. India, we have the aspiration to become a 5 trillion economy very soon and want to become the third largest economy in the world. So I think the only younger people can make that aspiration become reality.
So, like when you meet a young person who has the passion to build something but not the resources, what would you tell them then?
Go after your passion. Resources will find itself. So if you go after your passion, money will come. I don't think anyone has to do. There's a passion which makes any business enterprise which has been successful anywhere in the world has been built because of one single person's passion. Then he finds a team which believes in that passion and go along with them. This is how larger enterprises, however big, has been. Nobody has been said I have built a company to become multi-billion-dollar or these. That's not the way in which any business was ever started. It started because of a spark and a passion. So I don't think a person who doesn't have money need to really worry about anything. As long as they are committed to their passion, I think they can progress.
And like knocking many doors discussing ideas would be the first way to go about it, or what?
Yeah, so each business has its own. You don't know what ideas you find, and you listen to more people, and everyone has some mentor. Sometimes the mentor may be from your social media, YouTube, or it could be from your own teachers or your parents, or it could be friends, relatives, anybody. So basically, a person has to start listening to multiple people, then start refining his idea. An idea starts, but the idea everyone has. But how to execute idea, you need to acquire a lot of knowledge, advice, all this. Then we start executing.
You didn't just stop with building an institution, you have touched the entire ecosystem. Was this intentional?
No, I'm an accidental entrepreneur. I never, I didn't, in my family, nobody knew what business was. So even the first time my first boss became my partner because that was a retention strategy for him. To retain me, make me a partner. So that's how I became way back when I was just 20 years old. So at that time, I don't know what is entrepreneurship. Even today, that words are not even existing those days. When we really talked about it, we don't know what we are doing, but we are just learning. So what I tell to younger people is just, earning is important, but learning in younger age is more important than earning. That experience you get is what ultimately make your success. So that first 5 years of my life, in my career particularly, I learned most of it. Then immediately I had a chance to live in China. That actually gave me a lot more understanding of how global businesses are being done. Working in a multinational gives you a larger global picture. All these experience, you put it together, then you become a reasonably good entrepreneur.
When at 20 you were given such a huge responsibility, how did you take it? Was it in your own style?
No, my boss couldn't do something, so he said, I couldn't do it, you try. So I just tried and it became successful. See, end of the day, you just put commitment. And sometimes it might fail, but you have to keep on trying again and again until you become successful.
But we also see that certain enterprises are as much as the entrepreneurs. Longevity is a problem. How do we sustain enterprises?
So that's what now the management gurus are talking, and the entire management lessons are all about. Don't ever build people dependent organization. You build a process dependent organization. This is what Americans taught us. They are able to the whole global scale of business. What they bought is purely the SOPs they create, the process, the people go unattached. Here in today, when olden days when we used to run business, these are all mom and pop stores. It was where we were very much dependent on people. Of course, people are extremely critical. Without people, we can't run. But then we just cannot only build businesses which everyone has a different style of working. We need to have a process, and if you start building, and that's how Indian multinationals are coming in today. When we go to across the world, today in Twitteron we operate in 185 countries, and we have direct operations over 30 countries, and in Newburgh we have in 7 countries. Each country is different. And we need to go and see, if you go to Finland, the way of running business is completely different. You go to, say Africa, it is different. Or you go to US, or you go to Turkey. Every country has its own way. So how to make all these different nationalities to function in a particular way, you have to actually have a SOP and you have to have a process. This is what the large multinationals have taught us. Don't depend too much on people. You build. Then these are enterprises survive. Tomorrow, even if I'm not there, these enterprises has to run. So that is how now public enterprises are working on everybody's succession plan. Even Mr. Dhirubhai Mani said, your ownership is different from management. The management should be given to the right person. Ownership can always be going to successors on your legal heirs. But management, right person at the right place with right processes, obviously will make a successful organization.
Your vision has been to make healthcare accessible, affordable, at scale. If you had one part to redesign one part of India's healthcare system today, what would you begin with?
No, I would have obviously looked at, even today we have. I think if you really, the dichotomy of India is 70% of the people are living in, 70 even to 80% of the people are living in rural India, and 20% of people are living in urban India. But our healthcare is just reverse. Most of the healthcare facilities, 80% is in urban India, and only 20% is in rural India. So if like you go to Europe, or you go to even in the US, you go to any of the small village, there is a very good healthcare ecosystem built. So today I think we have built so much centralized ecosystem and surrounding it in all these cities, top cities. If you take out the top 30, 40 cities in the country, rest of the place we still have a long way to go to provide good quality, particularly when it comes to tertiary care. So I think the way to build in the future is, I think whether it is being private enterprises or being government, our entire focus should be on rural healthcare. Because that is where the disease burden is. And we just cannot have people to migrate from there, come all the way hundreds of kilometers to get basic care or surgical care or even tertiary care. So the way we have to build it is to build, go deep and build and ensure healthcare for rural India. Once we achieve, I'm sure healthcare for all objective will be. I'm sure governments are all doing. That's what Ayushman Bharat is trying to talk about, or our own Tamil Nadu government's model. Everybody is getting there. Maybe we could have done that long time back, but now at least we are woken up, and it's time. We don't have too much time. We have to do it very fast so that every small village in this country can say they have a decent quality and decent amount of healthcare. What is required for their population?
Was this from when you had to travel 3 hours when you were bit by snake? Was there something then that triggered you to enter?
Yeah, to some extent, that is the way I even came into healthcare. But even today, when we go to multiple places, of course, we do have our operations in Africa. They are even much more. They have a lot more to do compared to us. We are blessed that we have just progressed over the past 10, 15 years. Probably even healthcare has progressed. But today's healthcare is not about, as you said, curative care. It's about, even in villages, we need to ensure how do we prevent disease burden, how to make health awareness to people there, and how do we really do health checkups or other things very regularly for rural people, so that they can prevent much before anything happens. So that is very easy, in my opinion, with the kind of tech happening in AI coming in. We have that telemedicine as a concept, teleradiology, telepathology, all these we have. With all these tech going around, India has been a tech leader in IT. If we can just combine IT with medicine, I'm sure we can provide very good care to rural India. So it's, I think that is focus of our healthcare ecosystem now. Hopefully, sooner than later, we will be the role model for the entire world. How we can, China has done it now to some extent. They are using a lot of tech in healthcare to provide for rural China. So there are certain things to learn from them. And we also have to move fast so that the healthcare doesn't become a luxury. Like people say, food safety for food security for all, same way health security for all is an absolute fundamental right for every Indian citizen.
Okay, thanks. You said you enjoy balancing different roles, but if there's a parallel universe, what would we see Dr. Velu doing there?
I don't know. I think I'm already enjoying what I'm doing.
Is there some other side of you, sports, arts, music, something?
All that are hobbies.
Okay.
As hobbies can't become your profession. Profession you do because of passion, and hobbies you do because you want to get away from your profession. So these two are two different things. So whenever I do other things, it is just to take a break from your profession. But I don't think I'm even thought about a parallel world. Whatever world I'm in, what God has given, I'm enjoying.
You're enjoying it right here already.
Yeah.
So you are an entire spectrum of healthcare, from device manufacturing to touching people's life. What is next for you?
No, as I said, we are bringing IT with healthcare together. Now we recently formed on digital.ai. So how to bring, there is basically, healthcare, many of this, whether it is medtech or even pharma to that extent, it's all not a basic science, it's an applied science. Particularly in medtech, we learn from other areas, whether sometimes from space industry, sometimes from automobile industry, sometimes from IT industry, then bring the advances back to what good is a technology, whatever the facet of technology it is, if it is not useful for human life. So if you can bring those technology and adapt it into healthcare and benefit millions of people, I think that should be done. So we have to keep innovating, not only on product innovation, process innovation. Now IT is going to, particularly AI is going to transform the way healthcare is delivered to people. So all this, I think India missed probably in like medtech. Even today we are importing 80% of medical devices. So now with healthcare, IT and medtech combining together, I think India has a chance to really excel. And if we can find a model in India which is cost effective, without any compromise on quality or specifications or any of this, I'm sure we will become a global leader in the medtech combined with IT. And that is where companies, like us and many other people in our industry is now aspiring. Our aspect today, we can't do like Indian quality and international quality. In healthcare, there's nothing like, you can tell for many industry there is, quality for India, quality here. In fact, in healthcare, the accuracy is not a, on precision and accuracy and safety is not a luxury. It's a must. That's the reason we spend a lot of, there's a lot of regulations. Even today, every device has to go to, drug control approvals. All of them need to have accreditations. So if you can actually, with all that regulatory ecosystem, still achieve a cost-effective technology, or bring in cost-effective technology and pilot it in India and make it affordable to larger section of the population, I'm sure all these Indian medtech companies today, already Indian pharma companies have shown that India is the pharma factory of the world to some extent. Though we still have a lot to do in the API, but many other formulations and many things, Indian pharma companies have really gone large global scale, and that will happen to medical device industry. Then come to health services. If you come back to health services, the lowest cost of health service anywhere in the world is in India. No other country has got the cost like India, because India basically, our cost of cardiac surgery or stenting is 1/20th, sometimes even 1/30th compared to the Western world. So we were able to innovate, even though we are 80% import dependent. Imagine if you become fully import independent. So every human being in India, every citizen in India will be able to afford anything. And that means pharma should be import independent, medical device should be import dependent, all our doctors should be given all the infrastructure and technology required to practice in India. I don't think doctors need to even go. See, they are all going out when they want to experience better technology, better infrastructure, better quality of life. That's the reason they are actually, there is still a brain drain. But I think that's reducing lesser and lesser, because I think people see a huge potential of growing India. So with that, I think we will become not only import independent, we will become export producing in medical devices, and we will progress in pharma, and we will probably become this healthcare service provider to a large section of now people we call as medical value travel. People from even Western world come to India to get healthcare. So we are able to demonstrate our quality of care to the entire world over the years. And I'm sure Indian healthcare service companies are going to go global, like we already done it in our diagnostics or sometimes in eye care and all these areas. I'm sure even multi-speciality hospitals from India will go and establish elsewhere, because everyone is looking for enhancing access and affordability. If you have a business model which actually enhances access and affordability, that become a globally reliable and globally successful business model. So all Indian healthcare companies can really think global, because if you can succeed in India, you can definitely succeed elsewhere.
And like you said, it's slowly becoming a reality also. Things are going
Yes.
the right way.
Yes.
You're also an investor. So what do you see in an idea or a pitch when someone is there on you?
Because we raised our first private equity in 2004, almost 22 years back, and I didn't even know when we were raised for Metropolis long time back. So that we just raised first round of private equity when there was nothing called private equity much existing. So since then we have got many investors on board. We have given multiple exits. That was actually exciting me, because sometimes it's a different world. But then I realized you can be an operator or an investor. You can't be both. So that is how we in 2015 we formed our first private equity company called Stakeboard Capital. But the one thing I clearly agreed with my team is I will not interfere in that, because as entrepreneurs you will be very emotional. In investment decision, as an investor, you have to be non-emotional. They say in the private equity world or in the investment world, you should, more than what you invest, you should know when to exit. So it's a completely different. So I wanted to just experience that world, though I had limited access, I had limited expertise. So my thought process is you operate what you know, where you have large expertise and big experience, you can probably operate. Rest is invest. Investors, you should allow investors to invest, and probably if you can guide and monitor, you can do that. Or sometimes, many a times, wealth advisors are there. People give money and they take care of your money. In our case, we created this. Even for healthcare investments, they do come to me to discuss. But when it comes to non-healthcare, what do I know? I will know nothing. So there are investment experts, who really know how to do it. So and even that is a very exciting world today. If you look at amongst young people, getting into investment world, whether it is being an investment banker or becoming you're getting into private equity or public market investor, that's really exciting the Gen Z a lot because they can sit and work on their computer. They don't have to move around too much. So I think the Gen Z likes that investment world, and nothing wrong. I think it has a huge, phenomenal career ahead of them.
But when they want to approach an investor, what should be their thought process? What should
No, I used to
they
tell
do?
because I every day get at least 10 pitches from startup companies because we have a private equity
I'm sure
company
that.
and we also have a family office. We do invest today. We have invested more than 11, 12 startup companies. But main issue there is our India, most of the pitches we are getting is how are we going to do something cheaper than what has been done before. So 90% of the pitches which we get, or even 95%, 98% of the pitches are about doing something which is done in US, something which is done in Europe. So we're not getting that original idea of having not done anywhere and we are doing it, be it in product, be it in process. So that original ideas are still less because of our ecosystems here. Not that you can blame the startup ecosystem for that, just that the amount of money being invested in startup is much, much lower compared to what happens in the Western world, especially US. We invest 1 crore, 5 crore, 10 crore. US, they invest $5 million, $10 million, $20 million into startup companies. So I think the scale has to change. Then obviously the startup ecosystem will get bigger support. For scale to change, you need to also change our thought process of not doing the same thing again and again in a different way. You probably do things which has never been done. And we can take innovative ideas to the world rather than taking from the world and trying to adapt to India. So when that happens, there is also competition from multinationals. There is also competition from the companies which has originally invented. So your possibility to success is limited. So that's the reason the number of startups succeeding in the country, though increasing year by year, but still comparatively less. But I think even in US, if you see the equal amount of startups fail there also. But in startup ecosystem in the US, it is okay to fail. But in India, if one fail, that we don't get any more investment. There, I know people 7, 8 times they have done startups, all failure, and still they got money, and 9th time they become successful. So that concept has to come in India because the fear of failure is there among startup entrepreneurs. Because if they fail in one and they need to go back to work, they just come
they always come with a backup.
So that's the problem. That fear of failure is there, which because that's how I think ecosystem will get matured year and as we go by. So my only thing to them is think innovative, think out of box, and come with ideas which has never been done before. That will get better support than saying copying somebody else's idea or trying to do something slightly differently or slightly more cost effectively. That will have some backers, but not too much backers. My mom is like my god for me because IT engineers or IT scientists of the whole world is in Chennai, and that is their home.
When you land in Chennai, what instantly makes you feel that you're home?
Tamil also.